Hey everybody, it's Kevin here. Joined once again on Aging Ash and Sticky Balls by Joey and Matt. Monday, what I call Monday morning. Welcome to my world because all they needed was one, guys. They had it lined up. You can make the argument if you want to about Sale. But if you're going into this having to win one game out of three, you think Evaldi's going to take the mound on Friday, and you're going to pretty much rip the hearts out of the Yanks. And it ended up going the other way. Why don't we start with thoughts with you, Matt? What was your thoughts on Friday, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, as you saw this thing? The September surrender happen down at Fenway Park.
So Friday, pretty tough. I think when Devers hit that one-handed homer, which he never does, I was kind of shocked. I said maybe we've got some life. I think I made it like 6-3 at the time or something like that. And I was like, okay, at least it's a ball game now, or 7-3. Then we kind of just laid down and died after that. So I was like, okay, on the Saturday. And Saturday we had who do we have going? Pavetta?
Yeah, Pavetta. Yep.
Pavetta, yeah, and Erod pitched yesterday. Okay, so Pavetta on Saturday. And Pavetta was lights out. Fantastic. And I could tell when, I think it was just like, so when Judge drops the Bobby homer, I was like, okay, now it's held it to a 1-run game. We end up scoring on a pass ball, and then we give a run right back with another pass ball. And I was like, we can't be doing that. We can't be giving them runs. Little did I know, giving them runs was just an understatement of what would happen later in that game. I was out grocery shopping. I get into my car, they hear that the bases were loaded on a hit by pitch. And then as I'm driving, legit the next pitch was the pitch. And I think Joe Castiglione just says, that's it, drive the deep left. And the way he said it, I could just tell it was gone. And I was like, okay, we're down 5-2. But luckily the Yankees have this closer that's just kind of not a good person or a good pitcher. So I'm like, you know what, maybe we'll come back. Sure enough, Bobby, I think, leads off the inning with the homer. And I was like, there we go. That's something. He gets hit on the foot. I'm like, time run at the plate. And we're just 2 straight strikeouts. I was like, okay, whatever, game over. We need to win Sunday. Must win game. And again, great pitching. We come back. We take the lead on a drop fly ball, which I'll allude to with it balances out later in the game. So Gallo drops it. We score 2 runs. And Bobby same thing next inning, pop up, Bobby drops it. It's like, ball doesn't lie, it evens out. A dropped third strike apparently on a transfer by Joe West. I don't know what that is. And the minute that he called that a drop strike 3 or a dropped foul tip, I knew that the next pitch was going to be a hit. Like, there was no way it wasn't going to not be a hit. Sure enough, Judge drives into the gap. Sand comes up, I go, walk him. And then as I'm screaming at the TV, walk him. They don't walk him, sure enough. Fastball right down the middle. That ball hit to New Hampshire. I just hung my head because I just knew it was so predictable from the start of the 8th inning on. Like, every pitch is boom, boom, boom. You could tell exactly what was going to happen. When Ottavino struck out Judge on a fastball, I couldn't believe it. I thought he was going to go slider. Goes fastball, and then sure enough drops it. Then just the collapse, then we kind of slide down and die. No, not even. We have first and third with no outs. Got a guy on second to start off the inning. And then we don't score. We don't even get 1 run in the 8th. And that's just like, it kills. And watching this, luckily we play Baltimore and Washington. Otherwise, I think they were out of the playoffs.
Joey, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the worst thing about this all to me is that Friday game and how Evaldi pitched, especially against this Yankee team. Because I think if at 6:45 Friday night, if you told me it's one game at Fenway Park, I'm leaning Evaldi to go out there and just shove and give it everything he has and step up. And I'm okay with if he loses a gem and whatever, loses a game. I didn't expect him to get rocked. But now that happens, it's like, do I really want to throw him a week from tomorrow against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium or home? And then, so that's changing things. So that game was just shocking. But we said last week, the worst thing that could happen this weekend was that they got swept. What I didn't realize was what's getting worse than getting swept is getting swept when 2 of those games you had the lead in the 8th inning. And what we said last week, the only way or the one thing they cannot do is beat themselves. They cannot be giving extra runs. They cannot be dropping foul balls. They cannot be having pass balls. They cannot having base running mistakes. Those things cannot happen, or you're going to lose to a good team that is going to capitalize, like we saw. And luckily, I didn't have the opportunity to watch Friday or Saturday's games live because I was at an Airbnb that didn't have any sports channels in Worcester. No Nesson, no ESPN. We went to sports. The one thing they had was 2018 playoffs, David Price on the mound versus the Yankees in the ALDS. Why that game was on, I don't know, but I was in a house with 6 other Yankee fans.
Was that game 2 or 3? Was that game 2 or 3?
Price was pitching, but luckily I didn't get to see either one of those, but I watched, so since there were so many Red Sox and Yankee fans, we were watching on our phones at points, and Pivetta, as all year, he hasn't been as consistent as I'd like him to be, but he steps up. He stepped up in the DeGrom game. He stepped up in Yankee Stadium. Pivetta knew Saturday it's going to be a must-win. Our best pitcher at home just flopped the night before. We got to just win it right here. He did his job. There's nothing else he can do about that. Can't ask for anything else. And then last night, the second Bobby didn't catch that ball, I was like, I thought Judge was going to put on the Mass Pike next pitch. And then the strike. And I know all year, Matt has been preaching for Alex Cora to get ejected, Alex Cora to argue. And I've tried to defend Alex Cora. The one person who had the best view of that transfer would have been Alex Cora. To see a righty catcher go like this and pull the home manager on the first base side is the one staring at that. How he didn't lose his utter mind, I have no idea. How Vasquez didn't lose his mind, I have no idea. It just blew my mind. And like Matt said, it was just so obvious. And then I didn't even think of a walking stare in that situation. I wasn't thinking that, but yeah, in retrospect, he's the hottest hitter on that team right now in these 2 games. Why give him anything to hit? And Evaldi, I feel ever since what's his face cursed Evaldi when Franmil Reyes hit that home run when Nesson threw up the graphic and said, not Evaldi, Ottavino. Since Nesson cursed Ottavino by throwing up the graphic, he hasn't hit a home run, and Franmil Reyes hit one to New Hampshire. I feel he just gives up home runs all the time now. And he's a guy who just kind of does nasty stuff, but if he leaves it over the plate, someone like Giancarlo Stanton is going to hit it 500 feet, and that's what we saw happen. And every game, the one nice thing I had was it wasn't like it was August again. Every game, especially with the way their bullpen is, I had a slight bit of hope that they would come back. But then they had some guys get on, but they can never put anything together. And I am just so aggravated that these next 6 games are going to mean something. Like, I'm very aggravated if tomorrow night it's a 4-3 game in the 8th versus the Orioles. I have to have like locked in, heart beating, like, fuck, this is must win. I'm very upset that these games have to mean something because all you had to do was win 2 of 3 and then win 2 of 3 versus the Orioles and then like 1 of 3 versus the Nationals or something. You would have been probably in and had it because these other teams are going to beat up on themselves. I'm mad you probably can't move around your rotation now and try to set things up. You just have to win baseball games and keep this going. Go take back over first place.
Well, I'll tell you what. First of all, Dahlbeck, he leads the league in meaningless home runs. It's like those, fourth quarter yards when the defense is playing, staying back, that type of thing. But you mentioned the starting pitching, and I'll give it to Evaldi because he's been nuts all season long. So everybody gets kicked around once in a while. That's the way it happens. But when you get into the A-Rods, and one thing that they're lacking right now is length. You don't get much length out of any of these guys on a regular basis. And the bullpen is showing you might as well just, throw them in a cup like Yahtzee and then throw them out and see what happens on any given day. But, the remarkable thing about that play for Vasquez on the transfer was he didn't seem to give a crap. I think they had their freaking hearts ripped out. And he was like, hey, just another. Here we go. It's one of those weekends, What do you think of that? And how much influence do you think that Hein Bloom is actually giving his manager going into next season? Because they got to get rid of some of these guys that they're just floaters. They don't really care. And if I got to see Vasquez take 15 minutes to get into the box between pitches again, I just want to slap him upside the head, dude. Just get in there, hit it. So but I think the reason that they didn't set up Sale to go in this series is because they know whatever they get, they get. Whatever they don't, they don't. It is what it is. But I'll go back again to what I saw and what that said to me was the Vasquez transfer and no fight in that guy. Joey, why don't you start first?
I haven't seen anyone's explanation on that yet. I don't even understand how the entire dugout didn't lose their mind. It's not like Brett Gardner was up there and it's like, oh, we're giving Brett Gardner another pitch after we just gave him another pitch on the foul ball. You're giving Aaron Judge 2 extra lives in the 8th inning with the tying and leading run on base. Like, I don't understand how nobody lost their mind. Not Vasquez, not Ottavino, and maybe from Ottavino's angle, he couldn't see exactly what happened, but it was just clear as day what happened. Everyone should understand it, and I don't know what it was. When it comes to Hein Bloom with Cora, I don't think Hein Bloom. I think he has his own mind and what he wants to do, and Cora or anyone else can give him all their input, and he'll listen. But I think at the end of the day, he's just going to do whatever he wants to do, whatever makes sense for his draft picks, whatever makes sense for his minor leaguers, whatever makes sense for staying under the luxury tax, everything. I think he has a plan, and that's what he's going to go for. Because we saw it back at the trade deadline. You were in first place. He has a plan. He stuck to his plan. He's going to do this. I think this offseason, he's going to have a plan. And if he does or doesn't make certain moves and people are questioning it, I think it's because it doesn't involve Hein Bloom's overarching 5-year plan.
Matt, any thoughts on that as far as the lack of fight Vasquez showed? And this team, for all that we've thought of them for most of the season as far as fighting back, and they pretty much have. But when it goes bad, they just walk away. It's like, I don't want anything to do with this. And Vasquez is supposed to be a leader in that clubhouse. So what do you think about him not really giving a reaction, Matt? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I mean, when the play initially happened, I did think it looked weird. Like, he kind of like stumbled backwards, and I was like, but still, like, I think even Vasquez would say, I don't care, any kind of competitor, even if that's not on the transfer, you're gonna say that's on the transfer. If you're the catcher, you're going to try and cover your tracks, even if it wasn't. But let alone this one was. This one, when you break it down in the replay, it's clearly he caught it. He's changing it over to his other hand. He drops it. That's what happens. I don't know how he doesn't freak out, start yelling. Like, I get that we still had the lead at the time and you got to focus on the next pitch. But like Joey said, you give a good hitter like Judge 3 chances to get a hit, he's not going to fail. Good hitters adjust. We got lucky that we got the strikeout, but the strikeout didn't happen. And that's why, like, when I said, as soon as that strike 3 wasn't called, I said, that's game. Like, they're going to have the lead. Judge is going to come through in some way. And it just happened. I don't know how. I was screaming at the TV, and I've got no dogs in the fight. I'm not playing. Like, why is it that the fans this year seem like they have more passion than the players do? That should never be a thing. I don't care. I get that we're Boston. I get that we're diehard fans. I get like Philly's the same way, and the Yankees and Mets are the same. But the players should embody that. Like, the players should never have less passion than the fans do. They are getting paid to play for those teams. When Vasquez doesn't argue, when Cora doesn't argue, get ejected once all season. As a fan, I probably would have gotten tossed 10, 20 times by now. I argue every call. But like, so it's just like, why is there no fight? And it's frustrating as a fan, as a diehard fan, even as a regular fan. It's got to be frustrating watching this being like, just going down without a fight. I was like, they were just accepting it, that it wasn't a call. And I was like, no, that's the wrong call. I get that you can't challenge a transfer call, but you still got to at least be barking at the umpire saying, how do you mess that up? Like, that's his job. And I've been saying this past few weeks. Why are old guys umping games? Their hearing and their vision is nowhere as near as the average person. Why are they the ones being paid to ump? Like, this isn't a thing. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why isn't it 40 and 50-year-olds that can adequately see and hear plays instead of, and all due respect to Joe West, great career, but an 80-year-old should not be umping a do or die Red Sox Yankees game on Sunday night, the final week of the season. I'm sorry. There's too much on the line. It's like putting Angel Hernandez behind the plate. You don't do it. And I get it's his final game at Fenway for his career. I don't care. I want the proper call, and he messed up that call, but we messed it up by not even arguing.
Well, that's the last stand of the old umpires union. They'd have old fat guys die behind the whole plate, and that's not even a joke. But give Cowboy Joe a break. He probably had a gig somewhere after, and he had to get out. He had to. I don't know who the heck knows. He was going to Providence or something. But all right, so here we are. The games that we thought a week ago might not mean anything suddenly mean something. As you said, you can't juggle. As far as your pitching staff line and stuff up like that, you still don't. I mean, maybe you guys do. I have no clue. What the formula is coming out of the bullpen. It looks like you're going to start off with Hulk pretty much going in there, giving you a couple innings, but he kind of rescued himself there too. So what do you do now? You're basically, like I said, 6 games left. If you didn't go pedal to the metal against the Yankees at Fenway Park on the last series of the season to get home field advantage, what tells you guys that these guys are going to respond to playing guys that are going to be working for UPS in 2 months delivering Christmas packages? Joey, let's start with you.
The only thing that I think can motivate them now is just avoiding pure embarrassment. If they just miss the playoffs, if three AL East teams make the playoffs and you aren't one of them, and you were in first place on July 30th, and you had no major injuries, that's an embarrassment to everyone. The hot dog vendor should be embarrassed. The person checking your ticket should be embarrassed. The owner, the GM, everybody, the players, everybody should be embarrassed if you do not make the playoffs, especially when you do have the easiest schedule with these final 6 series. The Yankees have to go face Toronto and the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays have the Yankees and the Orioles. And then if Tampa had to be in this, I think Tampa's playing like Houston in the Blue Jays or the Yankees. So like those other teams are playing very good teams, and they knew about this a year ago that the end of our season is going to be a stretch. The Red Sox had it easy. You could have put this away. This should have been your celebration time. This should have been the time you had the UPS drivers playing for you. But you're in the situation where now you are going to have a 5-team race for the final week of baseball. I wish I rooted for another team in another division, because the next 7 days are going to be unbelievable with this race between these 5 teams. And somehow Seattle and Oakland are like still technically there and have a chance. So it's going to be a great week of baseball. It might kill me, and I'm just pissed I have to care about playing games against a sub 500 team in the end of September, beginning of October.
Now that sounded like a Heim Bloom assistant noise that came out of your keyboard there, Matt. What were you adding up over there?
No, I was plugging my laptop. But for the first time in a few months, I don't feel confident going into the final week. And we're playing the Orioles and the Nationals, because I think the win was just taken out of the sale this weekend. No pun intended. Just watching it, it's just like they just look defeated. Like, that's all I can say. Like, I was just lost. And then tomorrow is the 10th anniversary of Game 162, a game of which who did we lose to that night?
Orioles.
The Orioles. Who are we playing tomorrow night?
The Orioles.
The Orioles. So with a chance to have us tied for that final playoff spot.
Yeah, but
who knows? Maybe the Blue Jays, maybe the Yankees will be up 7-0 again and decide to blow a lead again, like 10 years ago tomorrow. And the Blue Jays will come back and they'll be tied with us. And all of a sudden we'll be tied for the final spot when we were up by 3 entering Friday. Let alone, like, we had 9 games to go and we had a 3-game lead. If we had even taken one against the Yankees, I would have felt pretty confident. We can go 4-2, which is a .667 win percentage, and we can miss the playoffs if the Blue Jays go 5-1. And that's entirely plausible. The Blue Jays are a well good enough team to go 5-1. And that is a terrifying thought that's going through my head, is that we can go 4-2 and miss the division, miss the playoffs. We go 5-1. I forget how the tiebreaker works. I'm not sure if it's best record or if it's a wild card game to get into the wild card game, which I think it would be, because I don't think they bring it down to record for the final spot. So we'd be playing Monday and Tuesday. So let alone you have all these pitching, and sales pitching. It's like, there goes ALDS because both of our pitchers are gone. So if we're even tied entering that series, or exiting the season, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like Joey said, luckily the Yankees play the Blue Jays and then the Rays. That's entirely grateful in our favor. Hopefully, I said to Joey last night, I'm rooting for the Yankees this week because I honestly just want to be in the wild card game. I don't care if it's at home. I don't care if it's at Yankee Stadium. I just want to be in the playoffs. So that means rooting for New York to give us some space from Toronto. If the Yankees can take game 1 and we can take game 1, then that gives us a little bit more space going forward. And that's really all I care. It feels weird rooting for the Yankees. I rooted for the Yankees 10 years ago tomorrow, and they ripped my heart out. I think they lost on purpose. I do. But it's this next week is stupid that I'm going to care about a Red Sox-Orioles game at the end of September. Why should I care? But it's like Joey said, I'm going to be, if it's a close game, I'm going to be like, we need to win this. And if we lose any of those games, I will go to bed upset and probably just go straight from turning off my TV to lying in my bed. And that's a very likely possibility this week, and I don't like that.
Well, let me tell you something. You know what we used to call last weekend when I was a kid? Every September. That's just what happened around here, if they were in it. And I was half joking with a couple of people I was talking to this weekend. I said, yeah, I'm doing the show with these guys, and I said, I don't ever think they've had their balls ripped off like they could this weekend. And he goes, wow, that's a horrible thought. I said, no, it's a fucking glorious thought. Now they're real Bostonians. So anyway, going from there, I'll tell you what, in my opinion, if they just slink away and then they come out, at the end of the season, the way the real sports, where am I? Right there. No, wrong one. Well, you get the idea. They say this guy had his left leg was hanging off. This guy, had whatever, all these different injuries. I'd be better with that because if it goes to Yankee Stadium and they're starting, the equivalent of I don't know, way back John Wasden, it's just going to be a painful 8 or 9 innings, and they'll find a way to make it a 5-hour game too. Mm-hmm. By the way, so I'll be careful what you wish for. But in closing, all right, you're going to have to look at this season. And we got plenty of time to do this, but assuming that they fall on their face and they don't make the playoffs now, when literally I think all they had to do was win one game. They either take Evaldi's start on Friday night or they come back on Saturday and they say, screw you, we're going to answer you back. And then whatever happens Sunday, and it's over. You know what I mean? But now, they've choked. It's going to be talked about because the Patriots kind of suck too. So looking at this season, the way it ended, to me, it's a major disappointment. I don't care what they did in the first half. Just a quick couple seconds each on how your opinion has changed about this team's future due to the way they performed in the clutch here. Joey, why don't you start us off?
I think the biggest thing to me is the bullpen needs a lot more work than people even realize. Like, everyone knew the bullpen needs work. Your bullpen always needs work. The best bullpens always would love an extra arm, but I think it just turned into, Matt Barnes was just a domino effect. It was like everyone else around him suddenly fell, and you've had guys like Robles who have been great at times, awful at times. Austin Davis has been sneaky, very good. His numbers are very good, but you just don't have that guy to step up. You don't have, like 2018, you had guys, like 2013, you had Koji step up. You have these guys that step up, or you just have a dominant bullpen. They don't have that and stuff like that. And I mean, it goes against everything I believe in, but I feel like it has to go back to coaching. I don't know if it's and by believing, I mean believing in Alex Cora. Thinking Alex Cora was the number one pivot turner from last year to this year, the number one reason I would give him a 10-year contract right now, because I just believe in what he can do. Don't roll your eyes. But I don't know what else he could have been saying to them in the stretches in August, in a stretch like this past weekend, where there's no fight, there's no heart. He hasn't been ejected. I do buy into the theory that he doesn't want to get ejected. He doesn't want MLB to have any reason to punish him, because they'll probably punish him more than another manager. I do understand that. And I don't blame him for having that thought. But at the end of the day, you gotta light a fire under your guys' ass. You gotta show them some fight. You gotta tell an umpire when he's wrong, and he just hasn't done it at all. And when Matt was preaching about this 8 weeks ago, I was like, there hasn't been a situation. Oh, we still have some time. But like Sunday, last night was when I lost it, and it was just the perfect situation where you saw it. He had the perfect view. And I don't think there should be a change to the manager, but I almost like the culture, because they said to go back to the beginning of the year. When we believed they could come back in every single game, that team just has to come back. Haven't seen that team since June. But if they can somehow figure out what concoction worked then and build that into next year's team, I think they'd have something positive to build off of, while also filling in the gaps that you have throughout the lineup, rotation, and bullpen.
Matt, your closing thoughts on that?
I still feel good going forward. This team exceeded my expectations, so I still do feel confident that they are on the right path to be a successful team. I think that the first step comes with firing that manager that they have, because I didn't think that he deserved to get hired. And I don't know. Does it seem like the players truly love him? If it just seems like they're not dying, like it just seems like complacency at this point. Like, who cares if they love him? Look at the White Sox. They all hated Tony La Russa, and look at that team. They're strong.
Talk about an 80-year-old guy in baseball. Guy goes through 3 depends on the bench, for crying out loud.
Our manager next year should be the guy that's sitting on the upper step right now, that everybody has asked to be the manager for the past 5 years now, but he just hasn't taken it. I don't even know if they've even offered it to him. But Jason Varitek should be our manager. He was the smartest catcher. He's such a smart coach, and I think he's a true reason that a lot of the guys that he's working with in the bullpen have gone better. Richards and Whitlock and Onevito, they all had better years than they did last year. Robles, Austin Davis, like all these guys are stepping up, and I think a lot of it is due to Tech. I trust, but yeah.
No, I think eventually you'll be correct. Didn't they sign? I thought they signed Cora for 2 with an option for a 3rd or something like that.
That's why I said fire.
No, because I agree with you. I don't think he's Heim's guy. I think Heim said, "All right, I'll bring him back. We need a spark. Maybe it'll create a little story here or something like that."
Is Rocco still with the Twins?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if he wasn't, he'd be perfect fit. All these like former Rays guys, Kevin Cash, like maybe we could get Kyle Snyder, the pitching coach of the Rays, to come be our manager. I think that'd be a good fit. Former Red Sox World Series champion. It's all these things. Anything's better than Cora. Joey, you could be out managing the team over Cora. I'd be all for it. No,
One thing I think that actually hurts the team and Cora with it, and the guys that are here, are that they won in their first year, and it was so easy. Like
Farrell's
Xander
first year
had
they
to-
won.
What?
Farrell's
What was
first year they won.
Yeah, but Farrell, that was like a fluke, and you had veterans, and then they left and they disbanded the team in 2014. That happened. Like your core is still here, and you had like Xander won in his first year, and then he was like feeding to get back. But then you had Devers, and I guess a lot of the guys are gone now with your outfit.
Yeah.
But like your main guy, like you have Devers, JD, and Xander. They won 2 years ago with Cora. They're not fighting for it. They weren't like if you were embarrassed 2 years ago and you lost in the World Series, I feel you'd have more heart to get back now. But you didn't, and everyone just keeps going back. They're beating expectations, so good for them.
Well, like I said, I happen to agree with Matt. And nobody pushes a laundry cart like the old captain number 33 there, I'll tell you that. Although I wouldn't want to push him in a laundry cart these days. But anyway, I think he's around next year. I don't think Bloom listens to a thing he says, and I think he's telling him this is the way I want, my lineup to work. This is what I want to see. I think there's a lot more fingers in it than there were last time he was here. And by the way, Farrell won more than a championship when he was here, but that's a story for another day. All right, guys. So I'll tell you what. If I can get us together, maybe we'll call a few innings of one of these games. If you guys can take your fingernails out of the armchair arms or Department of Redundancy department right there. But anyway, thank you all for joining us. As always, the Red Sox have not let us down when it comes to letting us down. This has been Aging Ash and Sticky Balls. He's Joey. He's Matt. I'm Kevin. You'll hear from us again this week. And thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.